Hey everyone, and welcome to what's probably going to be a fairly long video in which I am discussing flames. So in case you've been living under a rock, they announced at MapleFest on Sunday that GMS will be getting flames slash additional options slash bonus stats, whatever you want to call them. And we will be getting those on June 20th, which is about 2 months from now. So pretty soon. There's already been a ton of guides put up on Reddit describing, what they do, what they are, how you get them, etc., etc. I'm going to cover more of a stats side of things because there's already a ton of information out there about, how they work, how you find them, how you use them, etc., etc. So if you're more interested in that, then go browse Reddit, go look on the wiki. It's everywhere. It's not hard to find, trust me. But in this video specifically, we're going to be focusing on stats that you can gain from flames. But before we get to that, I'm going to do a little bit of an overview just for people who have no idea what flames are at all. Basically, they're entirely free to play. In KMS, you cannot buy them in the cash shop. They might change this in GMS, we don't really know, but we'll have to see. Items can have 1 to 4 different lines of additional options. And basically what those lines are just additional scrolled stats on an item, more or less. It's like cubing, but for scrolls, sort of. Each line of additional options can have a different tier from 1 to 7, 1 being the worst tier, 7 being the best tier, obviously. In Maple C, they only have 5 tiers. I'm assuming we'll get 7 tiers in GMS since that's what most versions have, but we'll have to see. Tier 7 is extremely rare to get. Tier 6 is a little bit more realistic, so typically in KMS people settle with Tier 6 of the stats they want because that's, it would be very hard to get Tier 7 of everything that you want. Additional options can be rerolled using Crimson / Eternal Flames. Crimson Flames can be got from like Legion or Dojo or like other in-game shops basically. Eternal Flames can be obtained through events and also crafting, I believe. Although we might not get crafting in GMS because apparently EMS did not have crafting, so again, we'll have to wait and see on that one. But like I said, you can't buy these in the cash shop. It's entirely free to play, unless GMS changes that. Some of the stats you can get are dependent on your item's level. Some are not. I'll go over that a little bit more later. Weapons have different possible stats than armors. Weapons are typically the most important thing that you can get a good additional option on because they have a lot stronger possible stats than armors do. And then finally we have a couple of equipment types that cannot be flamed. Those are rings, shoulders, medals, emblems, badges, androids, android hearts, secondary weapons, and totems. In KMS and a couple of other versions, you can actually use flames on the Scarlet Shoulder, but even if that is the case for GMS, the Arcane Umber Shoulder will still be better than a well-flamed Scarlet Shoulder. So just keep that in mind. If you're not going to get an Arcane Shoulder, then Scarlet Shoulder is probably the one to get, but we may or may not end up getting that in GMS. We'll just have to wait and see. And that's basically it for the overview. Like I said, just a brief, description of what they are for people who have absolutely no clue. If you're interested in like a more detailed description of how they work and how you get them, just browse Reddit, browse whatever wiki. The information is everywhere. And we're going to go ahead and get started with armors. So I'm going to start on the left here. We have 3 tables. We have a table for level 150 items, level 160 items, and level 200 items. So there's obviously more ranges than this, but to save space on the sheet here, because I didn't really want to have to scroll around, I'm only using these 3 tables because these are typically the levels of the most common items that are used. So the stats that are dependent on your item's level are single stat lines, which is like strength, luck, dex, int, etc. double stat lines, which is strength and luck, strength and dex, you know, whatever. HP, MP, and defense. Obviously, these two are the most important, unless you're a Demon Avenger, in which case HP is more important, obviously. MP and Def aren't important, usually, but they're on here because, you know, just trying to be thorough. So, there's that. And then I have them laid out by tiers, 1 through 7, to show you the different possible stats at each tier. So, for single stat lines on a level 150 item, you can get anywhere from 8 to 56 single stat. You can get anywhere from 4 to 28 double stat. Anywhere from 450 to 3,150 HP and MP. And then anywhere from 8 to 56 defense. I'm not going to cover these for the later ones because, like I said, no one cares, but you get the idea. It's a possible thing that you can roll, basically. Moving on to level 160 items. For a single stat line, you can get anywhere from 9 to 63. For a double stat line, you can get anywhere from 5 to 36. HP anywhere from 480 to 3,360. And same trend for MP and Def. And finally, level 200 items, we have anywhere from 11 to 77 single stat. We have anywhere from 6 to 42 double stat. Anywhere from 600 to 4,200 HP. And then same trend for MP and Def. And then we have the stats that don't care about your item's level. So no matter what level your item is, these stats will always follow the same trend. We have weapon attack and magic attack that can be anywhere from 1 to 7. Speed or jump, these are two different lines, but for the sake of space and formatting, I just kept them on the same line. They can also be anywhere from 1 to 7. Percent all stats, so this is a very important one. You can be anywhere from 1% to 7%. And finally we have level reduction. So this is just like, you know, if you have a, let's say you have a CRA top and you roll -20 level reduction, that means that instead of having to be level 150 to wear it, you can wear it at level 130. So that's all that is. And those are the stats that do not care about the level of your item. And then in the middle here, we have the ideal bonus stats. So for this, I used tier 6 rather than tier 7 because tier 7 is extremely hard to get, like I said. So the odds of you getting tier 7 on all of the important stats is really, really unlikely. So if you got tier 6 on everything, you would be overjoyed with that. That would be more than enough for you. So starting off with a level 150 item, the best possible thing you can get with a tier 6 and all the important stats would be plus 72 stat. So that includes a single stat line of 48 and a double stat line of 24. These will show up in the same line on your item, but they do count as two different lines. So like I said earlier, there's a maximum of 4 lines of additional options. This and this would combine for a total of 2 of those 4. Then we have 6 attack, which is tier 6 for weapon attack, and then we have 6% all stat, which is tier 6 for all stat. So as you can see, we cover all 4 lines here, and we get the tier 6 in the 4 most important categories, which is single stat, double stat, weapon attack, or magic attack, depending on, you know, if you're a mage, and all stat percent. So this is the ideal that you could get on a level 150 item. On a level 160 item, as we can see, the stat increases. We have a single stat line of 54, a double stat line of 30, for a total of 84 stat. Attack and all stat remain the same because, like I said, they don't care about your item's level. They will always follow this tier structure, so those will be consistent throughout. And then finally, for level 200 item, you can get up to 102 stat on tier 6, which is a 66 single stat line and a 36 double stat line. So that's what you have for armors. This is definitely a huge increase. If you can land these ideal stats on all of your armors, you'll see a big increase in your damage, and I'll go over that a little bit more later, like what the total ideal would be. But just to give you an idea of the individual ideal, this is more or less the gold standard. So let's move on to weapons. Now, as I said earlier, weapons have a couple of different stats that they can get. that are different from armors. Single stat and double stat remain the same and are also possible on weapons. The big difference is that rather than flat attack, you can gain a percentage of your weapon's base attack as bonus attack, basically. So like, let's say I roll a tier 7 on a 150 item, which is 40%. So if my weapon's base attack is 100, then this gives me plus 40 attack, which is pretty good. It's a lot better than 6. Or, well, I guess it would be 7 at tier 7. But you get the idea. So that's the first big difference, and it's actually the only difference as far as stats that change based on item level. So I combined HP and MP into one line just to save space here, and then defense as before. So just quickly going over it, single stat and double stat are exactly the same as they are on armors. Percentage of base attack. So on a level 150 item, you can get anywhere from 4% to 40% of your weapon's base attack as additional attack. HP and def obviously stay the same. On a level 160 item, you can get anywhere from 5% to 50% of your weapon's base attack. And then on a level 200 item, you can get anywhere from 6% to 60% of your weapon's base attack. And then as for stats that don't care about your item's level, there are a couple new ones here. Boss damage being the most significant, you can get anywhere from 2% to 14%. Then we have just regular percent damage, anywhere from 1 to 7%. We still have speed or jump, it's exactly the same. So is all stat, and so is level reduction. So, moving on to the ideals for weapons. On a level 150 weapon, the ideal, which is tier 6, would be 32% of your weapon's base attack, 12% boss, 6% damage, and then 48 stat. Now, this might vary, but for the most part, for most late game funded people, 48 flat stat should be better than 6% all stat. So that is what I'm going to be sticking with for the ideals here. This will change depending on your equipment setup, but like I said, for the majority of people, it's going to be this one, most of the time. So moving on to a level 160 item, you can get up to 40% of your weapon's base attack at tier 6, and then boss and damage remain the same, and then you can get up to 54 single stat. And then finally, with a level 200 weapon, you can get 48% of your weapon's base attack, and then 12 boss, 6% damage as before, and then up to 66 single stat. So not only do the base attack percentages increase as your item level goes up, but the base attack of your weapon obviously gets higher. Like, the base attack on an arcane weapon is a lot higher than it is on a Fafnir weapon. So not only is the base attack percentage much higher, but the base attack itself is much higher, which means that having a high level weapon is extremely valuable when it comes to flames. And then finally, we're going to move on to the summary here. So let's click this. So I'm going to start on the left here, and we're going to go over the best in slot armors that are flammable. Now, I realized about halfway through recording this that I forgot something here, and I'll talk about it at the end. But for level 150 items, the best in slot items that we currently have are the Rudibus top, the Rudibus pants, both of the superior Golux pendants in both of your slots, a Tyrant belt, and superior Golux earrings. So that's 6 level 150 armors. As for best in slot level 160 items, I was hesitant on whether I should include transposed versus just normal tyrants. I went with transposed because technically it's best in slot, and a lot of the late game funded people have transposed, but I know a lot of people don't. So this will vary a little bit if you're using regular tyrants, so just keep that in mind. For best in slot level 160 items, we have the transposed Sweetwater hat, transposed glove, transposed cape, and transposed shoe. And then I have Sweetwater tattoo and Sweetwater glasses listed here. These would actually be the Hard Damien eye patch and the Hard Lotus face accessory, But since both of those are extremely rare, I'm just going to leave Sweetwater here for now until those become more common and more accessible to the general public. So for now we're just having Sweetwater there, but both of the hard boss accessories are also level 160, so this would not change basically. It would stay the same. And then for level 200 item, the best in slot that we have as far as armors go is the shoulder, which is not released in GMS yet, but will be once we get Will, which will come shortly after we get Flames. So I'm just going to use that here. And then the item that I actually forgot is the pocket item. So you can actually flame your pocket item, and the highest level pocket item that we have in GMS is the Sengoku High Shodai pin, I believe. It's level 200. It's 20 all stat, 10 attack, I think. So on its own, it's not the best in slot, obviously, but the actual best in slot right now, which is the rifle bullet, is only level 30 or something. So the flame stats that you get on the rifle bullet are actually really, really bad. Meaning that the level 200 Sengoku pin is a lot better. So that would be another level 200 item here, which will boost this slightly, and we can actually factor that in here real quick. So if I'm adding a level 200 best ideal armor, that's another 102 stat, and then 6 and 6. So we go to quick math. 140 plus 6 here is 84, and also 84. So I don't have it written here, but when you includes level 200 pocket. Sorry that it doesn't look pretty, but just writing that in so that you guys can see the actual effect, and that'll change this number as well, which I'll do after the fact. So this is the total ideal bonus stat gain if you have tier 6 of the ideal stats on all of your best in slot armors. And it's massive. You gain 1,140 stat, which is ridiculous. You gain 84 attack, which is nearly the same as an apple. And you gain 84% all stat, which is almost as much as like all of the nebs on all of your equips. So this is huge. Now, of course, it's really hard to roll the ideal on all of your stuff, and it'll take a long time, but if someone manages to do it, it's big. Moving on to weapon here, obviously the best in slot weapon is the Arcane Umber weapon. It's level 200, and it has the highest base attack of anything in the game. For the ideal bonus stat gain on the weapon, I included the actual attack gain rather than the base stat whatever. And then over here on the right you can see that I actually have a list of all the different base attacks for arcane weapons. This is just in the order that they're in the shop with the NPC. I just went through one by one and wrote them down. The most common attack value, base attack value, is 283, and then if you average all of them you get 284. So I included here what the ideal would be on a 283 base attack weapon, and that would be plus 136 attack, which is roughly 48%. And then obviously the asterisk, it will vary by weapon. Obviously if your weapon has more than 283 base attack or magic attack, then this number will go up. If it has less, then this number will go down. Just keep that in mind. This is still massive, obviously. Like I said earlier, the weapon is probably the most important equip that you can get a good flame on because of this huge attack value on a single item. So, just to go over the full thing, plus 66 stat, which is the highest single stat line, well not the highest, but tier 6 single stat line, 136 attack, 12% boss, and 6% damage. So, for the grand total ideal stat gain, if you got the ideal tier 6 additional options on all of your equips, this is what you're looking at. And it actually goes up a little bit. Sorry, I have this formatted weird. 220 attack, 84 all stat, and then what was it, 102, so that's 206. And then we'll move this back up. So this is the grand total ideal stat gain. And obviously, like I said, this is really hard to actually obtain, but it is a ridiculous number, and even if you're not getting, you know, all of the attack or all of the all stat or whatever, getting all of this stat by itself would be huge. So Flames coming to GMS is going to result in a giant power creep. I'm not sure where the ceiling will be after this, but it's going to be raised quite a bit, which will be interesting to see, especially because this is not a pay-to-win mechanic, at least not in KMS. Again, GMS might make it a pay-to-win mechanic. You know, we never know. But the fact that this is free-to-play is really cool for lower-funded people, because it means that you can get this bonus just by playing the game eventually. You won't get it in a month, but you might get it after like a year, so that's really cool. And that's basically everything that I wanted to cover. Like I said, I don't really want to cover the whole, you know, how does it work and where do you get them aspect of it. There's plenty of guides on that all over Reddit, all over the wiki. There's a ton on YouTube too, to be honest. So if you're interested in that, just go look around. It's not hard to find. I'll drop a few links in the description to sources that I used for this video. And that's pretty much it for me. So thanks guys for watching. I'll probably have a bossing montage out soon. Yeah. I was waiting for a little while because I wanted to finish a couple of clips before I do that, but I think I'm mostly set on where I am right now. So I'm going to go ahead and get that recorded soon, and then I have a couple other video ideas, but they might take a little bit longer. So bear with me while those slowly make their way to the channel. That's it for me. Thanks guys for watching. Hope this was informative. Hope you're all excited for Flames. I am. It's going to be a lot of farming probably. But yep, that's it. See you guys later.